Amadou Guy left Senegal for Canada, hoping it was El Dorado. Here, he found a full-time job and a good quality of life.
I was a marketing manager. I had worked for 10 years before coming to Canada.
Guy had it all: an apartment, a permanent residence card, and a job in data analytics for a major corporation. But things took a turn for the worst. He says someone from work began harassing him.
He started saying, "You black guy, you came to Canada, so you have to work hard. This is my country, and if you don't, I'll crack out my whip." He would tell me this over and over again. There was a mask of a monkey in the office. He said, "Look, that's your brother right here." I told him, "Stop, that's not gonna work." But he kept on going. "That's your monkey brother. Do you see that monkey? It's your brother."
His company is aware of the situation. It proposed mediation, but refused to take disciplinary action against his bully. Guy felt his employer failed him. He says he fell in a depression and took a leave of absence.
Comment vas-tu? Ça va bien. Bienvenue à la CSM.
Eventually, he turned to his union. The administrative tribunal found the racist harassment Guy faced caused injury, a position the tribunal rarely takes. There are laws that protect visible minorities in the workforce, just like there are laws to keep them out of harm's way in public, but it often doesn't deter perpetrators.
This is a victory for us unions, but it's also a political victory because this fight isn't limited to unions. It's a broader, everyday fight against racism. This calls for us union members to be more vigilant, but also raises many questions regarding the way we integrate newcomers.
According to Statistics Canada, hate crimes nearly doubled in the last few months. Muslims, Jews, and Black people are the main targets. They are harassed on the internet, but also in broad daylight.
Stay away from me.
You better get the out of here, Frenchie.
Stay away from me.
You better get the out of here. Terrorists! Terrorists! Terrorists!
He's touching him, he's pushing him. He's telling us to get up.
You don't ask me a question here in my province. Where the you from?
He's telling us we don't belong here.
But the rise of social media and hate crimes against visible minorities gave anti-discrimination activists another battle to fight.
Unfortunately, if we don't get things moving, we'll be leaving a vacuum, a space that will be occupied by the far right, by xenophobia, racism, and Islamophobia. And that's what we're seeing today.
The collective Contre le racisme pour une lutte systémique held a second debate in Montreal. The house was packed.
When I first became aware of the implications of racism, and when I first started talking about it to my Caucasian friends, I met a lot of resistance. And on a psychological level, it was very difficult.
The main concern tonight, the nationalist agenda of Quebec's new government.
There is an ongoing debate on secularism in our province, and I believe it's a debate that's worth having. It's legitimate. But this mustn't eclipse the concrete measures that must be taken to fight racism, intimidation, and cyber intimidation. So I'm eager to see how this government addresses the issue, because what's happening now, especially on the web, is problematic.
Yves Torres knows all too well what it's like to be harassed on the internet and in public. Torres is a French immigrant who converted to Islam. During the last provincial election, she was the first candidate to wear a hijab. She's concerned the identity politics from the political right is stoking hate in Canada.
I personally experience hate speech mostly on social media. It goes from rape threats to the usual insults, go back to where you came from. Every time that, for example, politicians talk about restricting what religious symbols should be allowed, there is a rise in hate crime.
With federal elections coming up at the end of the year, fighting hate crimes is not yet a priority for the federal government and opposition parties. As for law enforcement agencies, they say they are investigating hate crimes within their mandates.